Hello students, from today we are going to start our chapter revisions for term 1. Your syllabus for term 1 is from history you are having 1 to 5 chapter. In geography it is 1 to 4 and in civics that is 1 to 5 again. So let's start with chapter 3 from history. The company become the Diwan. Aurangzeb has given, mainly the Mughal emperor has appointed the East India Company as Diwan of Bengal. As an Diwan, the company became the chief financial administrator of the territory under its control. Now, what they can access, that is for they can now collect the revenue from the territory, that is mainly from Bengal. For this, land has to be administered and revenue resources organized so that enough revenue could be generated to meet the growing expenses of the company. Now, whatever the revenue they are collecting, they want to use it for their growing expenses. Here, the revenue resource has to be organized and the land has to be also administered. So, this was being understood by the company, but they were not willing to rule on the territory. The company learned to move with the cohesion and pacify those who held power and authority. So this work has to be done. If they are directly implementing any kind of laws, rules and regulation, that would not be accepted by the people. So they always keep a good relationship with Rajas and Zamindars. Their laws and new policies would be implemented by them. As the Rajas and the Zamindars are familiar to the common people, they are going to listen them. So for that, every step is being taken very smartly by the Britishers. Now, revenue for the company being granted as Diwani, the company saw itself as a traders. As I said, they came to India only for trading. They were not having any uh, plan to just rule the territory. So they wanted to increase the revenue. For what and for why? What was the reason to increase the revenue? To purchase the fine cotton and silk in a cheaper rate. So within the 5 years, what they have done, they have collected that much of revenue from Bengal that could finance their company's export. So the revenue, the same revenue what they have collected within 5 years, that is being used for purchasing the goods and also to export the goods, the same revenue was being used. Before that, they used to bring silver and gold, and in exchange of that they were purchasing the cotton and silk. But now as they got the power of Diwani, they have collected that much revenue that they don't have to import anything from their own country. Bengal began to face economic crisis and peasant artisan deserted their villages. As the revenue was high and doubled, the peasant and artisans were leaving the villages. They were not willing to live in the territory as they were not able to pay the revenue or taxes. With this, the terrible in Bengal, a terrible famine occurred, that was in 1770. That worsened the situation more because 10 millions of people died during the famine. The need to implement agriculture. Now they understood that only collecting revenue is not the way to be continue the same policy or system in future also. They have to look after the land also and they have to develop it also to get a fixed revenue. Debates were going on between the company officials. They said that they have to start investing and they should encourage the agriculture also, and that steps were taken for both. They started investing and this encouraged the agriculture. Thus, they came up with a new policy that was called as permanent settlement, where the Rajas and Talukdar were recognized as zamindars, and these were the people who were collecting the rent from the peasant and pay the revenue to the company. So the land on what the peasant were cultivating. For that they have to pay the rent or as per the permanent settlement policy, as well as after the produce or after the cultivation they have to pay the revenue also. So in two way they were collecting the taxes. Nextly, the revenue sorry, the revenue was fixed permanently to ensure regular income of the company. So they were collecting from the Rajas and Talukdar a fixed amount of revenue. They were not looking after whether the cultivation or produce was been a failure or an success. Anyhow, the zamindar, as what they considered as the Talukdar and Rajas, they have to pay the fixed amount. So sometimes the Talukdars or the Rajas have to pay by their own if they are not able to collect it from the peasant. So they were also being exploited, and as they don't want to give it from their own pockets, they were constantly forcing peasant anyhow they have to give away, and even the peasant has to take the loans from them. They faced during the permanent settlement, that was the revenue was fixed very high, that was not able to pay it by the peasants. Zamindar who could not pay lost their zamindari. As I said, anyhow they have to pay. If they failed to pay, then they were losing their zamindari. This zamindari position was auctioned by the company. The highest bidder get the position of the zamindari. So he become the next collector for revenue. Situation changed in the beginning of 19th century. Prices increased of the goods, and cultivation also increased, as the peasant has to meet the demand of the company. But what happened, this also led a loss for a company. How? This again could not benefit the company, as revenue was fixed permanently. They have permanently fixed the revenue what has to be collected. Now if the price increases, cultivation increases, then revenue should also get more to the company by the peasant. But as they have made the policy fixed, they were not able to get the benefit of the market price which was being increased in the market, or the cultivation what has been increased. Zamindar were no longer interested in improving lands, as they were only just focusing on what profit they are going to gain. Cultivator found this system very oppressive. as as it was forced on them, they were not willing to follow such oppressive laws. The rent paid by the cultivators to the zamindar, that was very high. Again, they were not having any rights on their land. That is also insecure, as if they are not able to pay the rent and as well as revenue, the land were taken away by the zamindars or the company. Cultivators had to take loan from the money lender, which could never be paid back, and he was evicted from the land, and he cultivated from the generation. As I said, as they were taking loans to meet and to pay the rent or the taxes, they were not able to pay back. Then money lender take away their land, which the land which they were cultivating for generation from the past. Now, as the permanent settlement policy became failure, the new system emerged or devised, that was being known as the Mahalwari system, and this is being devised by Holt Mackenzie. It came into effect in the 1822. Now collectors went village to village. Now his duty is to inspect the land, measure the land, and record the customs of the different group according to the land, and according to the crop they are going to collect the revenue. Each village has to pay the revenue on land what they are using. Revenue was being revised periodically. It means no permanent fixed revenue rates. If the market rates increases, then revenue rates also increases. If it decreases, then revenue rates also decreases. Village headman was responsible over here to collect the revenue and to pay the company, whereas in the permanent settlement, that was being collected by rajas and talukdars. and they were recognized as zamindar. So here who is collecting? The village headman. The system came to be known as Mehalwari system. So here the village was known as Mahal. After that the new system came into existence, or that was being devised, that was Monroe system. So why it is known as Monroe system? Because it is devised by the Sir Thomas Monroe. And it is also known as Riotwari system. Riot here means the peasant. So this policy or system was devised in South India. It was tried in the small area which was being taken away from the Tipu Sultan by the Britishers. Thomas Monroe has developed it and extended to the South India, and this was also introduced in Bombay, Mumbai. The cultivators in South were called as riots, that already I have said in starting itself. Alexander Reed and Thomas Monroe were arguing that who will collect the taxes or revenue. At last they came to in a decision like the peasant directly will pay to the British officials. No intermediator would be there to collect the revenue. For this, the land has to be carefully and separately surveyed before assessing the revenue. So here the survey is also going on, how much of land the peasant is having, what kind of crop they are cultivating, everything they are keeping an account. All was not well. Now all the system what was being devised by the Britishers, everything was not going as per the wish of the Britishers. Driven away by the desire to increase the income from land, revenue officials fixed too high a revenue demand which the peasants were unable to pay, because they were believing only to get profit. They were not just making the conditions of the peasant better, then only they are going to get the revenue in proper way, but they were not focusing on their improvement. Many fled away, leaving the villages and deserted, that we have learned, because they were unable to pay. So they were moving to the place where this kind of system was not being devised. Crops for Europe. Now Britishers realized that the countryside could yield the revenue and crop required in the Europe. Now they started introducing a crop which was required in Europe. Now what kind of crop that was being introduced in India? Opium, indigo, jute, tea, sugarcane, wheat, cotton, rice. These were the crops which British forced India to grow, and that is also in demand in Europe and as well as in market. So they want to earn more and more profit. Why the demand for Indian indigo? So Indian indigo was having the biggest supplier in the world. It is rich blue, deep in color, and that was being demand in everywhere. Indian indigo was being used by cloth manufacturers such as Italy, France and Britain to dye the cloth. Small amount of indigo which reached to the Europe, that was very expensive. Now they found the alternative. Now what alternative they find? They started using the other alternative dye color that is being extracted from the woad plant. But it is not as rich as the indigo plant what is being brought by the India, because woad plants dye was dull and pale. So the manufacturers doesn't like this. So its supplements also went down. Indigo came into demand. Cloth dyers preferred indigo dye very much. Then first of all, European to use the woad dye, they asked their government to just ban the import of the indigo from India. Later on, as they understood that the demand from the consumer or manufacturer is the Indian indigo, they asked the government again to just relax the ban from the indigo import. By the end of 18th century, the demand for indigo increased as Britain began to industrialize and cloth production increased dramatically. So during this time, textile industries were also developing. So indigo were also in demand. Existing supply from the West Indies and America also collapsed for the various reasons. Britain turns to India. Now they understood that investing in indigo plantation that would benefit them and they will get more and more profit. So many officials came to India and they started purchasing the land, investing the cash in land. They understood that, and if they were not having money, then they were taking loan from the company or even from the bank, because they know the indigo is dominating the market and they for sure they are going to get the profit. So they turn to India. How indigo was cultivated? There are two types or two ways to cultivate the indigo. One is Nij and other is Rioti. Nij means how it is being cultivated. The plant cultivated, the planter produce indigo in land that he directly control or bought or rented. It was called as niche cultivation. Now here Rioti means under peasant the cultivator were forced by the company to grow the indigo. So here by the planter is producing the indigo what the land was bought by him. As I said, the Britain turns to India. So these were the planters who were investing money over here, and on the other side the company is forcing the Indian peasant to grow the indigo. The problem with the niche cultivation, what was that? The indigo could be only cultivated on the fertile land. Labor is needed. The British officials were not able to mobilize the labor, as during the same time they were working on their own field cultivating the rice. The tool was the other problem what was being faced, because the same tool was being used in the rice cultivation, and to manage labor and the tools in the same time in both the places, that was not possible. So this was the problem which what the Britishers were facing. Even if they tried to purchase, then the maintenance and the purchase of plough and bullock was not a simple task. Transportation of indigo was the another major issue. Now in the Rioti system, indigo on the land of riots, in Rioti system planters were forced to sign a contract and take a cash advance. So here the peasant has to take the advances from the planters, and in contract it is mentioned that the 1/4 of the cultivators land has to be cultivated with the indigo plants. The planters are providing seeds and drill to the cultivator, and peasants duty is to look after the crop. The price the cultivator got for the indigo, it is very less and low, uh, as because of the same reason they were not able to pay the cycle of loan back to the planters. So this is never ending debt cycle what they are got engaged in. Indigo had the deep roots and it exhausts the soil rapidly, so it become infertile. The rice cultivation is not possible on the same land. After an indigo harvest, the land could not be sown with the rice, that I have already informed. Now the Blue Rebellion and after, many has rebelled against this oppressive laws, and how they were pursuing the peasant to grow the indigo. So rebellion starts. So this rebellion came to known as Blue Rebellion. In March 1859, thousands of riots in Bengal refused to grow indigo. Rents were refused, indigo factories were attacked, planters were socially boycotted, and agents were beaten away. So in some places, local zamindar and village headmen also have supported the cultivators, as they were also exploited by the Britishers. So they supported peasants. Later, orders were issued by the British that cultivators will not be forced to accept the advances for indigo production, as they understood that this rebellion is not going to end until and unless they are not going to take the oppressive laws back or oppressive policies back. An indigo commission was set up to ensure and to inquire into the system of indigo production. The planters now were shifted to Bihar. Then Mahatma Gandhi has to join the movement in 1970 with the favor of indigo cultivators in Champaran. to support them as they were exploited by the Britishers. So here almost we have covered our third chapter. I will send the all chapters PDF form answer keys. So just go through the video for revision purposes, and answer you have to just compare, or you have to just tally it with my worksheet. You don't have to copy down the answer. Already you have completed, because I have given the worksheet in homework to write down. So whatever answer you are not knowing, you can write it from my worksheet, but the other, it should be filled by yourself. Just tally it whether it is correct or not. Thank you.